Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to meeting number 594, Grand Falls-Windsor Town Council. With no business to take care of before the meeting tonight, I will call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is the adoption of the minutes from meeting number 593. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I'll need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor Little. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes from last meeting? No. Okay, we'll move into the disbursement report. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the disbursement report dated June 11, 2024 in the amount of $1,595,050.21.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, committee reports. First up is Committee of the Whole. Deputy Mayor Brown, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The Committee of the Whole met 5 p.m. Wednesday, June 11, 2024. Those in attendance were myself as Chair, Mayor Barry Emanuel, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Angela Little, Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance: Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development, Steve Gass, Director of Corporate Services, Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services, and Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer. First order of business was correspondence from the Exploits Valley Community Coalition. The committee discussed the request from the Exploits Valley Community Coalition to transfer a taxi license following the closure of Exploits Valley Taxi. The coalition expressed interest in purchasing vehicles from the closed business. The committee recommends approving the transfer of the taxi license to the Exploits Valley Community Coalition upon the successful conclusion of the business sale. Land Sales Policy, PWD-3. The committee engaged in a discussion regarding proposed changes to the Land Sales Policy, PWD-3. Changes included removing price adjustment restrictions for certain areas while limiting maximum adjustments for lands with specific conditions. Additionally, modifications were discussed to provide clarity on residential side lot sales. The committee recommends incorporating the discussed points into the policy and presenting an updated version at the next Public Works and Development Committee meeting. Exploits Regional Economic Development Pilot Project. Staff provided updates on the Memorandum of Understanding with the CBDC and other communities for the Exploits Regional Economic Development Pilot Project. This partnership aims at fostering business development, community development, and social development in the Exploits region. The committee supports this initiative and recommends continuing engagement and updates in future committee meetings. Dykes Auto Land Purchase Concerns. Darren and Rod Dyke, owners of Dykes Auto, presented their concerns related to a land purchase adjacent to their building on Earl Street. The committee acknowledges their concerns and recommends that staff engage with the owners to address their specific issues and attempt to find an amicable solution. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report, which outlines expenses totaling $1,595,050.21. After review, the committee recommends accepting the report as presented. Taxation Receivables Analysis Report. Staff presented the Taxation Receivables Analysis Report, highlighting a total balance of $6,483,833.66. indicating a 3.75% increase compared to the previous year. The committee appreciates staff's efforts in collection and recommends continuing these efforts to maintain financial stability. Gymnastics building purchase. The committee discussed the purchase of the building currently housing the gymnastics activities. The council reaffirmed its intentions for this acquisition, and the committee recommends that staff prepare a resolution regarding borrowing $1.6 million for the purchase of this building on Hardy Avenue. The meeting adjourned at 7:45 p.m. and I move the recommendations of this committee.
Okay, been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the Committee of the Whole minutes? Hearing none, I do have a comment, I guess, regarding the gymnastics building. As everybody knows, we've been, the last 7 or 8 years, I guess, trying to find a permanent home for gymnastics, and have been, I guess, just getting there every year to manage to have some space there. They started on Bailey Street, and I say the gymnastics, I should say we. It's our program, of course. The town runs the gymnastics, and we're up to 450 kids now registered. They were on Bailey Street for a while. When COVID was on, the Joe Byrne Stadium was available, so they did that for a while, which was a good location, but obviously once the ice sports came back, they had to find another location. And we've since been renting the building on Hardy Avenue for gymnastics. And it's a lovely facility and a lovely spot for gymnastics as well, and it seems to house the program real well. So for us, we see obviously, number one, the long-term sustainability of a vibrant gymnastics program is very important in our community. We have 450 kids, as I said, and of course, kids of all ages, very young to high school kids. And it's a program, obviously, that's very beneficial to the participants. And as far as purchasing the building goes, it's one of those things that if anybody, me included, personally was renting something for a price and wanted to make sure that we're putting our money into some equity, that we would jump at a chance to purchase. And in this case, that's exactly what's going on. We do pay rent there. It was $14,000 a month that was costing us for the rent, but of course that was offset by the gymnastics registration. That ultimately, it was around $3,000 a month that it cost the town, just to be clear on that. But $14,000 a month rent is significant, and to purchase the building and have that in their inventory for our purposes, maybe not only for gymnastics, but for other activities, and you know, we own it, so the worst case scenario, I guess, in the future is that we would sell it and recover our costs, and I would suggest probably make money on it, being that the housing prices and building prices are going up. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm not sure if gymnastics comes up after or not, so I will mention gymnastics show while we're on it as well. I went to the gymnastics show last Friday, and it was the biggest crowd in the Joe Byrne Stadium since the renovations. And the renovations took place over 20 years ago. So there was an estimated, Mr. Mercer, was 1,400 people, including the participants, and they were lined up down the street. You know, we had a little bit of extra time to get the people in to their seats, but it was well worth it. Well-organized show. The kids were obviously excited and enjoyed it very much, and the people who took in the show enjoyed it very much. And I was asked to bring greetings on behalf of council and was happy to do that, and of course stuck around for a while to watch a bit of the show, and it was awesome. I mean, looking at them kids being able to do what they can do, and some of them only just starting, is amazing. It almost makes me want to join, you know. There was a time I could do a somersault. Now I can do one if I bends over.
Might want to reflect on that before you.
Yes, oh, I already have. Anyhow, I digress on that, but it is obviously a great program, and we're glad to see the kids enjoying it. Any other comments on the Committee of the Whole minutes?
Just
Mr.
one
Finn.
comment, Mr. Mayor, with respect to the purchase of the gymnastics building, and that was that the stability of the program was also a factor, and that's in that we were only leasing it on a year-to-year basis, and the owner could end the lease, with 6 months' notice, and so that notice was coming up on us. So it was always a risk that it's not that he could cancel the lease on us and we just go somewhere else. We went through that exercise to find other locations and couldn't find it. So owning the building takes away that risk of where does the program go if we can't use that particular building, and because we weren't able to find other suitable square footage with that height that's required.
And we know because we checked every square inch of every building in town and talked to
Yes.
people about building a new place, which would have been
Yeah.
$7 or $8 million, I think. But thanks for providing more detail on that, Darren, because it is, the last thing we wanted was that program to have nowhere to go. After 7 years, is it, Todd? 7 years, the program has been in existence as of Monday past, yesterday. So it's a great program and not something we want out in the streets and looking for a place again. All right, any other last comments in committee of the whole? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. We do have a resolution there pertaining to the said purchase. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. GFW 2024-394, resolution, purchase property. Whereas, under Section 94 of the Municipalities Act of the Province of Newfoundland and Labrador, subject to the approval of the Minister, Council may borrow monies and issue securities for the repayment of monies borrowed. And whereas it is deemed necessary to borrow, in addition to existing credit facilities, the amount of $1,600,000 for the purposes of purchasing property located at 44 Hardy Avenue to operate a gymnastics program. Therefore, be it resolved that subject to the approval of the Honourable Minister of Municipal and Provincial Affairs, Council borrows this amount from CIBC Chartered Bank in Grand Falls-Windsor, and that this amount be borrowed over a 2-year term with a 20-year amortization period. Be it also resolved that the Mayor and Director of Corporate Services be authorized to negotiate said loan and to sign promissory notes and execute all documents pertaining to this resolution. And I propose this resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it's proposed by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the resolution? I just want to mention before we put it to a vote, when it comes to borrowing money, just so that it's clear to people that when the town borrows money, it does it often. That's how we do our work. That's how all municipalities do their work. If it weren't for the ability to borrow money and carry debt, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do. It just wouldn't be affordable. And the trick is keeping your debt ratio at a manageable rate, and I'm pleased to report that we've always had a good debt ratio when you compare it to other comparable communities in the province, and we're looking to make sure it stays that way. I just thought that was important to clarify that it's not something unique. Okay, Deputy Mayor, yes, go
One
ahead.
more important point on gymnastics, 23 people employed at that building, full and part-time people from Grand Falls, Windsor and the surrounding areas. So, it's gymnastics is right from the get-go, started quick, and it's hard to believe it's come to this, 450 athletes and 23 staff there. So that's an important point too.
It is, thanks, Deputy Mayor. It is an added bonus, I guess, to the program to have all those people employed as well. Any other comments on the resolution? Hearing none, as proposed by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Hiscock. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, Public Works and Planning. Councillor Cody, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works and Development met on Wednesday, June 12th at 5 p.m. In attendance, myself as the chairperson, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Mayor Barry Manuel, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Dave Knoll, staff, Darren Finn, Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, and Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development. Water quality. The committee was updated on the water quality within the town. There have been no calls of discolored water in recent weeks, except in areas where there were flushing operations or other work ongoing. Staff continue to test water around town on a regular basis, and it has all been good. Annual flushing operations continue, with approximately 20% of the town completed. 2023 to 2026 Capital Works Program. The committee reviewed the latest revised Schedule A from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. The Circular Road Phase 2 project has been approved, and Council would need to accept the new agreement. The committee recommends a resolution be prepared for the next Council meeting to accept the agreement. Land request, 22A Hardy Avenue. The committee reviewed a request from PBO Industrial Disposal Incorporated to purchase 1,130 square meters of backland that is located behind 26 Hardy Avenue. The land is proposed to be used for additional storage for the business operation, and it is adjacent to backland already owned by PBO Industrial Disposal Incorporated. The committee recommends this be denied at this time as the land is directly behind another business. The committee also recommends staff contact the adjacent business to ensure they are aware of the proposed expansion. Land request is 16 Sherwood Avenue. The committee reviewed a request from a resident who is looking for land at 16 Sherwood Avenue. The parcel of land in question is behind 14 Sherwood Avenue, and their intention is to construct a new single-family home. The resident would need to obtain adjacent private land as well to have a lot large enough for this dwelling. The proposed development is permitted in the development regulations as a panhandle lot. The committee recommends this be approved and sold as per the land sales policy. In addition, the committee recommends a building permit not be issued until the resident has all the necessary land required to meet the development regulations. North Cliff Development. The committee reviewed an updated proposal for a housing development on North Cliff Street. The previous proposal included larger lots and required rezoning of some ROS recreation open space land. The current proposal, DWG number 2024-5, dated June 3, 2024, was developed to address the concerns of the residents of Rothmere Street and will not require the rezoning of ROS land. The new proposal will need the residential land to be rezoned from RS3, single unit urban residential, to RS1, single unit compact residential, as the lots are smaller in size. The committee recommends this be approved and to start the rezoning process. In addition, the committee recommends all the residents be notified in writing of the new proposal to ensure they have a good understanding of the development. Subdivision agreement. The committee was presented with the latest version of the subdivision agreement. This version includes the latest updates on approved materials, subdivision entrance requirements, storm retention, landscaping, and minimal number of multi-units required. The committee recommends any new agreement with the new developer must be presented to the committee for final approval. Public Works reports. The committee was presented with the latest reports from Public Works. To date, 480 square meters of asphalt patching has been completed, 470 liters of paint used, 70 square feet of landscaping required, and 15 signs installed. In addition, 15 water leaks and 3 main water breaks were repaired, 41 plugged sewers corrected, 14 water valves exposed, 34 curb stops repaired, and 133 square meters of underground infrastructure installed. The crews are finishing up the annual spring cleanup this week and will now focus on seasonal projects. There are currently several vacancies that need to be filled and bring staff levels back to normal, and hopefully will be completed in the coming weeks. To-let development. The committee reviewed the updated concept for a housing development near To-let Drive behind the schools on Prices Avenue. This proposal identifies more enhancement to the trail system and had a lot less disruption to the existing trails. This development would generate 13 housing units. The committee is pleased with the revisions as it addresses many concerns that were brought forward. The committee recommends staff meet with Newfoundland and Labrador school representatives to discuss this in more detail and bring it back to a future committee meeting for discussion. Land sales policy. The committee reviewed the latest proposed updates to the land sales policy. These changes will help address some unique issues that were encountered, as well as updates to address unsuitable material in lots sold by the town. The committee recommends a proposed change be approved as presented. Housing Incentive Program. The committee reviewed the final draft of the new Housing Incentive Program. This program aims to address the housing shortage in town by providing financial support to developers entering into new subdivision agreements and as well as builders of all types of residential units. The program is designed to provide additional funding with high-density developments to try and generate as many housing units as possible. The committee recommends that this be approved and for staff to promote these programs as soon as possible to help generate more housing. The committee is excited for the program and believes it will stimulate housing developments to address the need in the community. Our meeting adjourned at 7:30 p.m. I move the recommendations and report of the committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, second by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the Public Works and Planning minutes? Councillor Cody.
I'll just talk a little more water quality. We've made a commitment to make that the #1 agenda item on our Public Works and Development Committee meeting, to make sure that we are constantly keeping up to date on what's happening, to know right away if there are any disturbances, and to just basically get information in our minutes as to what's happening in the community with regards to water. The latest report is that it's excellent, and it's just things are improving. We're implementing different measures all the time. We're changing our flushing program, working with consultants on new plans, installing flushing valves. So again, just continue to encourage residents, if they experience any discoloration, regardless of what's happening, if it's flushing or whatever, if it's prolonged in any of those areas when there's work going on, please do reach out and let us know. A lot of land requests, adjustments to our development plans. We're gung-ho on creating new housing in Grand Falls-Windsor. We're open for business. We're open for residents moving in. We need to grow our community. We know that. And nothing attracts business and retail and everything else than having a thriving and growing community. So the changes that we're making to address the housing shortages, the different types of housing, multi-unit, the panhandle lots, which have been in our development plans or regulations for quite a while, but the garden suites, the additional units with the single-family dwellings now, providing incentives to have multiple, could have 2 apartments in those homes as well. Just again, it reiterates to everybody our commitment to our community, to our existing residents, in keeping our taxes at a manageable level. We know that's not always possible, but one sure way to do that is to make sure that we have more houses in our community and more people living in our community to generate additional business and additional revenue. And what was the other thing I was going to talk about? Oh, look, this never works for me. Let's see. Oh, the Public Works reports. So, although the weather is starting to get a lot nicer, we don't always have ideal conditions to work in. But you can see that our staff rarely slow down. That's a lot of work contained in that one paragraph of work that's been done in the community, from, line painting, landscaping, installation of signs, plugged sewers, new infrastructure installed, and the list goes on. Now, on top of all of that, we're going to be adding the parks and open spaces maintenance, mowing around town, garbage collection in our parks and areas, construction work, repairs that are necessary, gardening. The list goes on and on and on. So a great achievement by staff to be able to, and for our managers to be able to manage this work and get it done before we even had the callbacks and that as well. So good job to everybody. And again, to management, keep the pedal on the metal and foot on the pedal, and make sure that we continue to see that these improvements happening in our community, It's very important that we keep our community clean and beautiful. We encourage residents, if they notice anything in the playgrounds that needs repair or walking trails or whatnot, to reach out and let us know so we can make sure that we address it in a timely fashion. And, you know, just please enjoy what we have to offer. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. No, well said. There's one thing you said at the end there about the people letting us know. It's important, you know. I used the example, we have trouble keeping up, and I often use the example to people, like when we start doing our mowing in the springtime, when our seasonal staff is called back, by the time they get through all the facilities and parks and the, you know, the green spaces that we do mow, they have to start again. So, you know, it's difficult to find time sometimes to do the other things that we'd like to do, like inspecting closely every single thing, but it's impossible to do that. So when citizens alert us to something or alert staff to something, we certainly get on it and make sure it gets taken care of. And of course, people can call 489-0420 during the daytime if you have anything to report, or 0430 after hours. So thanks for that. Any other comments on the, Councillor Dwyer?
Thank you, Mayor. Just with respect to citizens who have concerns, and with respect to the water quality that was just discussed, first, when the flushing valves are installed, there will be some tweaking, and it will be important to hear from residents if there's an issue, and that feedback is going to be important in terms of how the tweaking is carried out. So it's really important if residents are having issues. And Voyant Alert is our app that can alert residents to where the work is going to be carried out. So if you don't have that app, it's a good idea to get it downloaded. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. And going back to Councillor Cody, one thing, one sign that was installed that I'm really pleased with, and I'm sure a lot of people are, is the flashing stop sign that's at the intersection of Honda rather, and Tulip Drive. It's a difficult intersection at busy times, to say the least. We do have money budgeted now for design of a roundabout for that area. That doesn't mean we got money to do it yet. We'd like to, but we do understand that that is necessary in that area. But that flashing stop sign, I came up upon it, I don't know if anybody else had the opportunity, since it's been installed a couple of times, and really, you literally can't miss it. And that is the cause of a lot of accidents there, people skipping that particular stop sign. So good job on staff doing that, and good job to get it in place. Any other comments on the Public Works minutes? Hearing none, I get a couple of things there. We mentioned, you know, the incentive programs that the town have put in place. We also have subdivision agreement changes, as was reflected in the minutes too. We want to make sure when developers develop that things are done in such a way that future problems don't occur. You know, everything should be to grade, everything should be done as per regulations. Once everything is done, that's when people can start selling their lots. But until that stuff is done, they won't do that. And there's other changes as well to the subdivision agreement. There's, you know, opportunity to keep some green space in, you know, trees and that kind of stuff, particularly in areas where we've seen in the past some clear cutting. And I think about Ivanys Road, particularly, you know, development there. There was a lot of mature trees that probably could have been saved, but that is something that we want to see done in the future. And just to add on to the incentive program comments that Councillor Cody had made, you know, we've been talking for a long time about all the things that we want to do. We've got an obligation to provide housing in Grand Falls-Windsor. And we know that there are a lot of people that want to move to Grand Falls-Windsor that cannot find a place to live. And as Councillor Cody said, you know, expanding our tax base and growing that is very, very important to being able to afford to do things, to keep our debt down, and to keep taxes down. So I do have some notes here on the program. I just wanted to put it out there because it is something new, and there's actually two different programs that we have. One is the Housing Incentive Program, and the other one is the Developers Incentive Program. So just some notes here, I guess, general comments. We created these so that we can promote some sustainable growth, and we want to address the needs of all who want to live in our community. And that could be obviously the multi-unit dwellings, duplexes, it could be tiny homes, it could be single family, small lot, large lot. There is need for all that. So that's why as well we've been making land available, as I'll talk about it in a sec. But, you know, this is a program that for developers, particularly with the high cost of living and the increase in the last 7-8 years particularly, COVID itself was a very difficult time for everybody. So for developers, they're business people, and they want to make sure that things make sense before they develop. And we feel that these incentives are good incentives that will encourage developers to develop. And some of those things include there are obviously a lot of regulations and a lot of conditions and that kind of stuff, as there should be, but I won't go through all those. As I said, it's designed to stimulate growth and development in the town. The primary goal of the Development Incentive Program is to help offset the initial costs related to construction of essential infrastructure. This includes roads, water, sewer, and storm sewer systems necessary to access the first new housing lot in new or expanding subdivisions. Also, the funding for this incentive program will come from the federal government and through property taxes collected on the new houses from the developments. I guess a couple of examples. The incentive payments, you know, you're looking at a payment structure there to developers, but also if you want to look at an example, so a developer with a 10-year plan to build 200 single-family homes will receive $100,000 in incentives for the first 50 units developed in the first 3 years. So that is a big incentive. And obviously there are time limits in place, or when you do receive incentives and we have an agreement, then there's a certain amount of time that you have to be able to do the project. And all that detail and more will come out, I'm sure. For the housing stimulant, which is more for homeowners in town, you know, anybody who would like to put on an apartment or a extra dwelling in their property can avail of a program that gives $7,500 for creating the additional residential units on your property. The new multi-unit dwellings constructed under this program will not be charged the per-unit water tax until the individual units are first rented or 2 years have passed, whichever occurs first. So there's a break on the water taxes when you first start. And land servicing costs related to water and sewer connections may be provided to the housing constructed by nonprofit and charitable organizations to meet social housing needs, with projects assessed on a case-by-case basis. And there's a lot of other information as well, of course, but it's something new. It's something that, you know, we certainly hope stimulates development. And we've been identifying land. Now we need developers with plans. And I'm pleased to say there are a lot of people who want to build in Grand Falls-Windsor. And as Councillor Cody said, there's a lot of benefit from that. So that's a little bit additional on that. Just quickly on the North Cliff development, I just wanted to mention that, as it said in the minutes, there'll be no rezoning required for the recreational open space area, which was important, as the main concern was the green space that was there between the houses and this new development, the houses that are there now. So that will remain a significant green space. And the actual smaller lots would accommodate single-family homes. So essentially, it'd be smaller houses, not tiny homes, but just small lot homes, which we already have lots in our town, pardon the pun. So just wanted to mention that. And also the Forest Park, Sprucewood, Tulip Drive, Park Street development, whatever you would like to call it. We did meet with senior staff from both schools, as well as the senior staff from the Department of Education last week, I believe. And the meeting went really well. It was very positive. And I just want to let people know that this is something still that is very, very preliminary. This is one of 25, approximately, land areas in town that staff had identified as possible development could occur, all for council to take a look at. And in this case, as some is reflected in the minutes, but when we met last week, we talked about the green space, again, is important in that area as well. So there'd be a significant area of forest between the backs of these properties, if they were to be developed, and the trails that the schools have developed. And when we talk about disrupting a smaller part of the trail, it should be said that we plan to build back more trail so that essentially the trail will be, I think, 50% longer. Am I right in saying that, Mr. Chapman? 50? Twice as long. So we'll have, the trail will be twice as long, and we plan to include a rainbow bridge in there, gazebo. There's a water line that we feel we can turn into a brook there to be along the trail as well, and some other amenities. We haven't gotten to the point of any consultation yet with public, but again, this is still preliminary, and we're certainly open to talking to people about it if they want to get more information. But the plans to be able to do this kind of work was talked about initially when we talked about this months ago. And I'm not sure if I said last meeting or not, but everything kind of runs together these days. It's been fairly hectic. But, you know, when it comes to that, I lost my train of thought now. That happens every now and then, you know? And I'm not going to get it back. Not yet, anyway. But anyhow, the bottom line is that it's good for the area, and it's good for the community, and it's something that, I don't know what I was going to say now, of course. I was going to say that first when we started this process and we looked at this particular piece of land, and we didn't look at it closely, it was just part of the land that was identified. The first thing the council had said was, hold on now, do staff know there's a trail here, and a significant trail system, and there's a nice trail system? So ultimately, the concern from parents and from kids, quite frankly, was that they didn't want the trail interrupted because they love it and enjoy it. So by increasing its length to double its size, and also adding new amenities like bridges and streams and that sort of thing, makes it even more useful when it comes to not only from the enjoyment standpoint, but from the teachers and parents, it's the educational value, and we've said all along the integrity of the trail system will not be hurt, and we still feel that way, and we will continue down this road, and at some point we will talk to more people about this before anything goes ahead. And the town are not developers. This, if it were to go to the next stage, we would have to find a developer, or actually we would have to put it out for expressions of interest for developers to express whether they're interested. And it's at that time that we would find out what was planned for the area, right? It's just that now we can say, here's what you have to work with, because we do not want to interfere or interrupt in any way the trail for the kids behind. So I know that was a long rambling response, but I did a lot of talking today. I know you're surprised at that, but I did. And I feel like it was one big ramble about now at 8 o'clock in the evening. Okay, the only other thing I'll mention quickly is the Capital Works program, you mentioned. And the Capital Works program, the multi-year Capital Works program with the province is a 3-year program. We've talked about this many times before in council. And when you talk about the money that we get for 3 years of capital work, it's not what we need. And the provincial government has to look at the monies that are provided to municipalities all across the province to reimagine and find more funding to be able to put into the multi-year capital funds. As we know, the cost of pavement, the cost of water and sewer, the cost of everything has gone up, and yet that program kind of remains at the same amount. Grand Falls-Windsor is in a category that we pay 30% of a cost of a capital project, and the province will pick up 70%. There are smaller communities, say mid-sized communities, that are in a category that's 80-20. There are some real small communities in the province that are on a 90-10 sharing. But we really feel, if government were to look at the long-term sustainability of the province, which I know they do, that investing into the hubs in the province is crucial. This is where people are moving, and as time goes on, they will continue to move, and I have all kinds of respect and empathy for people who live in these beautiful places all over the province, in these small communities with 20 and 50 people or less sometimes. But ultimately, government cannot afford to continue to pay for schools and roads and everything for all those small communities. I don't believe. I'm not with government, but when you see the other towns struggling so much, and if you're to put in say a wastewater project that's millions of dollars, and you put it in a community that likely in 10 years is probably not going to be having any residents, or very, very few, and think about the fact that you have to maintain that kind of infrastructure and you don't have the capacity to do so, you're really not accomplishing anything, just investing into something that's going to be not what we need here as in the province overall, at least as I see it, and council as well, I believe. Okay, so sorry again for the long rambling, but that's all I got to say on that. Any more comments on the Public Works and Planning minutes, Public Works and Development? Hearing none, we're going to move her in a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, there is a resolution here as well. Councillor Cody, if you would, please.
Thank you. A resolution GFW 2024-393, 2023-2026, a multi-year capital works program, Schedule A. Whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor qualifies for funding under the provincial multi-year capital works program. Whereas all projects and funding allocation under these agreements must be approved through the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor has been approved for funding under the 2023 to 2026 multi-year capital works program. Therefore be it resolved that the town of Grand Falls-Windsor agrees to provide the ultimate recipient's portion for the 2023 to 2026 multi-year capital works program as identified as a municipal share in the attached Schedule A. And I move acceptance of this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Resolution passed. Okay, moving right along. Community Services, Deputy Mayor Brown, you're up again, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Services Committee met at 7:35 Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Those in attendance were myself as Chair, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, and Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance: Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer, and Todd Mercer, our Director of Community Services. First order of business was the Canvas correspondence. The committee reviewed the correspondence from Canvas on the use of a community space to carry out their programs, along with town activities and programming. The director informed the committee that he has been working on the space for the group and will provide them with a community grant to help with the cost. The director will work with the group to ensure the agreement is completed, and the Canvas commits to helping repair the mural on Church Road Park in 2024, and will also carry out some additional community programming over the fall. Pride correspondence. The committee reviewed correspondence from the Pride Committee asking for help with their annual events. The committee agreed to the request and informed the director to help with the event as per our loaning policy. The Masduit Regional Museum correspondence. The committee reviewed the correspondence highlighting the free public gallery opening reception on Thursday, June 13th at 7 p.m. All the public are encouraged to attend. Community Services Special Events Update. The director gave an update on the past weekend's events, which included the Ride the River's Edge 50-kilometre bike race and the YMCA Centennial Cup road race. Both events were well received and had successful outcomes. The director also gave an update on future events such as the Shed Party scheduled for June 21st, the Shanny Canuck concert scheduled for June 30th, and the Kelly Ford Exploits Salmon Festival scheduled for mid-July. Girl Power Inc. correspondence. The committee reviewed correspondence from the Girl Power Inc. members on providing local theatre to the Grand Falls-Windsor community. The committee supports such activities using local artists, individuals, and spaces as done in years past. The director will provide the group with a community grant to help with the continued support of the arts community. Track Consulting correspondence. The committee reviewed the correspondence from Track Consulting on the review of the town's recreation master plan. The committee recommends that no additional work be carried out at this time. 2024 promotional material. The committee reviewed items suggested by the Community Services Department for this year's promotional purchase. The committee recommends that the director and staff finalize the promotional material and the costs associated and report back at the next meeting. Under new business, the Curling Club Farmers Market. The director discussed the opportunity to use the Curling Club as a business opportunity in partnership with the community market. The director informed the committee that he has had an information discussion with the funding agents and that interest in food sustainability was highlighted as a key component for both funding partners. The director will continue working with all parties and develop a plan to design in the coming months and report back for review. Exploits Community Employment Corporation. The committee had some discussion on the Exploits Community Employment Corporation's request to help provide support to one of their clients in cleanup efforts in Grand Falls-Windsor as in past years. The committee recommended continuing to provide support to the corporation and the great work the client and support worker provides to the community. Community facilities and security. The committee has some discussion on security systems for the town's recreational facilities, parks, and green spaces. The committee recommends that staff work on an expression of interest for the security systems and report back at a later meeting. Community Seniors Event. The committee wanted to thank the Community Services Department for their work on the Seniors Luncheon in partnership with the Community Kitchen. The event registration was full and the presentation by horticulturist Dave Morrill was well received by all in attendance. The meeting was adjourned at 8:20 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the Community Services minutes? Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I wasn't at that meeting, and it says in the minutes I was at that meeting. So if we can get that changed before our next public meeting. What I really wanted to comment on was the Community Services Special Events update. We got our Sound Festival coming up, and there's going to be a lot of great things going on there. In particular, one exciting thing is the garden party at the Grand Falls House. That's going to be hosted by the Heritage Society. It's going to be very limited, 125 tickets, I believe, is it? 100. But it's going to be quite the event, and if a lot of people have been wondering when they can get into the house to look around, there will be guided tours during that event, so if people are interested with the history of that house, that'd be a great time to go there, and there's going to be some food and refreshments there during that activity. The other thing I want to highlight was the Centennial Cup Road Race. That's been happening in our town for a very long time. The YMCA recently took it over, and in partnership with the town, apparently was very successful this year, and it's hopefully keeps growing. It's something that we need in our town, more of those races. The bike race, that's the first year I've heard of that. I'm not sure if we've done that before, but again, like I've seen pictures, and that's pretty cool. Like that's a big event, right? So, and like I've seen pictures of people not from our community coming into our community to do it, which is really good. So those events are, I think that's what we do best, and I look forward to more of it in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, the bike race was a big hit, and we do want to do more of that and maybe expand that as well, because biking is such a popular activity, of course, and will become more so. Any other comments on the community services minutes? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just with the bike race, it was a new event for us, and I'd like to acknowledge John Marchand, who worked with the Community Services Department in mapping out the trails for this very successful event, even above and beyond what we all expected. And John has agreed to stay on as an organizer for that event and work in cooperation with the Community Services Department and extend the race past 50 kilometres and maybe have some shorter races for the youth of the community and the province. And as Councillor Little said, we had people travel from across the province for this bike race. Everybody was impressed, and hats off to John Marchand for his help and his initiative in promoting this event initially. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments on the community services? Hearing none. Just want to mention there the note about the Demasduit Regional Museum. It's a good opportunity to mention that I have a notice here. National Indigenous Peoples Day is June 21st, and from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. will be the second annual dedication of the Seven Feather Crosswalk at the Demasduit Regional Museum on St. Catherine Street, and that's brought to you by Sisters Gift Newfoundland and in partnership with the town and the museum. And of course, people are welcome to attend that, and staff had done a beautiful job on painting that crosswalk again this year, and this was here, so I assume it was to pass along, and it was a good opportunity to do that. You know, lots of activities, as Councillor Little said, and we talk about lots of things to do. The shed party is coming up now this weekend, which a lot of people are excited about. We had the event at the golf course not long ago, the 90s event. We've had a Golden Girls event, and with the bike race and the running races, and lots of stuff on the go. And it's important because, you know, when Councillor Little said he believes we do a good job in it, I would agree. And I've said lots of times that it's something that we control. There's a lot of things in this municipal world that we do not control, unfortunately, when it's provincially regulated or owned, and it causes challenges in getting things done. So, you know, when we do have control, as we do in our events and programs, we should do a good job. And I believe that we do as well. So thanks to all the staff who do that. And, you know, I know that the citizens really appreciate it. And there's something there for all ages. The seniors event was mentioned there as well. One last thing on those minutes for me is the tract. It mentions the, I guess, a proposal to review our recreation plan. That has nothing to do with our proposal for a new recreational facility. That is separate, and that is still in the works and moving along, albeit slower than we would like. but the plan was done back in 2013, I believe, and they're asking if they want us to them to review it, and we said not right now, thank you. And so that's what that is, and not the recreation complex that's been talked about. Okay, any other comments or discussion on the community services minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, any notice of motion? Hearing none, we'll move into other business, and I did write it down last time. It's Councillor Little. You're up first, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. We met, myself and Councillor Dwyer, who's the chair, met with the Accessibility Committee last night. And as a committee, all members, I think, were very pleased with the uptake by some local businesses. The town sent some letters out about some concerns at certain businesses, and I was really surprised. I think everyone was really pleased that a lot of those businesses either have already fixed it or are looking at ways to fix the issues that are obstacles for accessibility, which was really good. So that's something that we're going to, as a committee and as a town, we're going to keep pushing forward with, creating more accessible places for people who need those need that assistance, and for all our future public buildings to meet those needs as well. School's out starting Friday, so I'm already seeing a lot of kids. I was coming here tonight, and I was coming down in Granville Heights, and it was like Frogger. There was kids going everywhere. So you really got to be careful of people zipping in front of you on bicycles and scooters and just running out in the road. There's a lot of kids that are around. The weather's nice, so we need to be careful, slow down. I think our speed bumps are all out. Our splash pads turned on downtown, so it'll be busy in the next couple months. Today was the College of North Atlantic graduation, so congratulations to all the grads there. It was a really nice ceremony. Councillor Dwyer was sending all the happy students up on stage, and it was really nice to be there, and it was a great ceremony. We do have a retiree coming up. Councillor Knoll, I'd like to congratulate him on his 138 years of teaching. What feels like it. 34 years in the teaching business, and I'm looking forward to seeing him next year as a retired teacher substitute, and I'm sure he can't wait. But congratulations, it's a long time, and greatly appreciate it. And that's everything from me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. As Councillor Little said yesterday, we attended Accessibility Committee meeting, and every time I attend an Accessibility Committee meeting, I learn something, and I'm inspired, and I'm sure you feel the same. When we invest in accessibility, we're really investing in the dignity of our residents and their independence. And sometimes when simple modifications are made, it can mean an awful lot to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to access facilities and areas. Things like ramps and water doorways, stable walkways, accessible restrooms can certainly make a significant difference in the lives of people with disabilities. But it doesn't just impact people with disabilities. It can benefit everyone. People who have young children and are pushing strollers, people who have a temporary disability, elderly residents. So creating an accessible community really does enhance our appeal, and can certainly do some work towards making our community a better place to live for not only residents but also tourists as well, and boosting our economy. So when businesses invest in accessibility, they can create opportunities for themselves as well. So as a community, when we invest in accessibility, we're demonstrating our commitment to being an inclusive and forward-thinking town. And some of the things that we highlighted last night in our meeting included the boat launch, which is going to be installed in the next couple of weeks, and a ramp at Gorge Park Gazebo, which is going to be installed by the end of this month. Church Road Park, we have funding approved, and it's going to be tendered this summer, which will include a paved walkway and some areas where people in wheelchairs are going to be able to get up close to the gazebo, so when we have events, they're able to see them as well. And we heard last night as well that there's going to be a pool lift installed at the YMCA in this summer. So that's all good news, really positive and important. Thank you.
For sure, yeah. Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just a couple of notes tonight, Mr. Mayor. Big event at the Joburn Stadium tomorrow afternoon. Bingo and a barbecue. Still not too late. Thursday afternoon, June 20th. 1:30 to 3:30. And bingo and a barbecue, which should attract a crowd.
Guaranteed.
There's two surefire things that will attract a crowd. Still not too late to register. We got some great prizes for the bingo games, and our community services director will be doing the barbecue himself like he did last year, I suspect. So you can depend on that being very well done as well. Congratulations to our local 50+ club who celebrated their 50th anniversary this past week and on Saturday with their dinner and some great entertainment. Very well attended event. Actually, the membership in the 50+ club is up about 60 members. So that's impressive, and congratulations to Vicky Higgins, the current president of the 50+ club, and all the past presidents who have given their time and volunteerism to ensure that there's always an avenue for seniors to get away, usually on Friday afternoons for a game of cards or a bit of line dancing or something like that. So congratulations to the 50+ club rather. And finally, a few questions this week on the Church Road Park concerts. They will begin the first Friday in July. First Friday in July, very well attended concerts, Church Road Park. We got our bouncy castles there and some popcorn and water for the kids usually, and all well attended events. And there'll be all local entertainers, a different one every Friday right up till Labor Day. And so people can look forward to that. And like I said, especially last summer, I noticed that the attendance was up at those Church Road Park concerts significantly. So the people of Grand Falls-Windsor can look forward to that as well. And that's it for me tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And when you mentioned the concerts in the park, it always reminds me of the bouncy castles.
Yes.
Because the bouncy castles every Friday throughout the summer are set up in different playgrounds. They move it around usually every week to a different playground, and the kids can flock to that particular playground to be able to have some fun on the bouncy castle for an afternoon, free of charge. So those two events are very popular. Councillor Cody.
Thank you. It's Bouncy Castle Mondays.
Oh, it's Monday now.
Yeah, it used to be, yeah.
If it wasn't bad enough.
I think most of us feel like we're bouncing on Mondays anyway, so it probably fits right in with the rest of our lives. I just wanted to elaborate on the National Indigenous Peoples Day. You mentioned the second annual dedication of the Seven Feather Crosswalk and the Demasduit Regional Museum. That's going to be free admission from 11:30 to 1:30 that day. So I would encourage residents in the community and people coming from outside of the community to take advantage of that and get in and see the beautiful museum and participate. I think they're going to have some refreshments and things there, and just the rededication of the crosswalk again. Sisters Gifts, I don't know if anyone is aware, Sisters Gift, they have a Facebook page. They are two Indigenous sisters, and they sell consignment items crafted by Indigenous peoples. And have some beautiful work. They're usually at the craft fairs. They have a website and a Facebook presence you can purchase online. And then the profits go back to the artists. of their creations, and they're beautiful work. I've got a few pieces myself, some jewelry pieces and things like that. They do wallets, umbrellas, shawls, bags, you name it, and it's beautiful work. So a great idea to support the work that they do in the community as well. And the Halibu First Nation is also hosting a community breakfast on June 21st from 9 to 11. That's going to be at the Halibu Community Room on 28 Hardy Avenue. You do have to register to attend that event because there's a maximum amount of people that they can accept. And they will notify on their Facebook page once they've reached that level. But you do have to register online. It's on their page, Halibu First Nation Facebook page. The post is there about the breakfast, and the link is there to register for that breakfast as well. I attended the Exploits Joint Council meeting last night. We were in Point Leamington last night, and we had the pleasure of doing a tour of Superior Glove Factory. What a cool spot that is. And you would never know it looking at the building from the outside. You walk in, it's a beautiful little greeting area. And you go into the glove museum, and they've got Audrey Hepburn's glove, Marilyn Monroe's glove. They've got, for the sports buffs, I didn't write down all the names, but they've got a catcher's mitt. They've got some indigenous gloves there, all kinds of beautiful work with historical significance to a lot of them. And then you walk into the factory itself, and that's where you get blown away by what is actually happening in that factory. Not just the manufacturing of the gloves and the knitting of the gloves with the machine, but making the fiberglass threads to make the cut-resistant gloves and things like that. The stitching, the imprinting that happens on them, cutting the thumb holes, everything. There's 150 people employed in that plant. They run 3 shifts a day, 24 hours a day they operate. And they have employees from Grand Falls-Windsor to Point Leamington, all traveling back and forth and going to work in that facility. And it just goes to show, like, I mean, you attract a business like that to your community, and you've got uptake, you know, right from the region. So it's important that we do support businesses like that and always be open to accepting of new and interesting businesses into your community. And last thing for me, it's construction season. You may have noticed. Please be careful. There's flags people out. There's equipment out. There's signs that we post. There's, you know, traffic slowdown areas. So please put your phones away. Pay attention to the roads. Pay attention to what's happening. Look at the signage. I know, like, I've seen it several times now already, especially when the line painting was happening. We have the signboards on our truck, and the lights on the signboard are flashing with the arrow telling you which way to go, left or right, to make sure that you're, you know, going the proper way and making sure that you're not traveling towards employees who are doing the work. And people they don't even pay attention. It's like the flashing stop sign on the buses. Right on through, not a second thought, don't even realize there's a truck stopped there with flashing lights and people on the road with signs and shovels and whatever. It's really amazing, actually. So I would encourage everyone to please slow down, take your time, be observant to what's going on around you. Pay attention to the regular speed signs, but also the reduced speeds in areas of construction. And please just make sure that everybody gets to go home safe at the end of the day. Thank you.
Sure. It's a sad story when you got to tell people to put their phones away and pay attention when they're driving.
I know.
Okay, Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items for me this evening. As Councillor Little had alluded to, as graduation week, and we just had our safe grad last weekend at AVH, and it was a fabulous time. Hats off to Miss Diane Ball for taking the initiative to lead it. I mean, the kids had a fabulous time. even though I had the doors open and mosquitoes were well fed just as much as the students were. But we get 120 odd great young humans, and so we've got our motorcade scheduled for this Thursday. Lineup is 6 p.m. at the Pentecost Church in Windsor Ward, and like we usually get down on the High Street as a staff, and I just encourage the people to come out and wave goodbye and cheer them on, and let them know that there is a community behind them at all times. Because lots of times kids come to school, and for whatever reasons they're there by themselves quite often, and it's nice for them to feel somewhat secure that there's a community behind them. Because we keep saying that all the time, and it's kind of cool that this might be my last time on that side of the road, waving goodbye to them as we go by. So it is a unique feeling. Coming down this evening, I was watching the news clip there, and all too reminded about what we went through not too long ago with forest fires and very hot, dry weather, windy as can be. And I was thinking this evening, all it would take again is for somebody to go with a cigarette butt out the window, and we'd be right back into the scenario again. So think about what you're doing. And I seen a nice meme the other day, don't be a flicking idiot. Can I say that? But anyway, right? I thought that was kind of cool, right? Just think about what you do from time to time. And I'll just end on a little polite note. I mean, salmon are run. They're early. I know people are tagged out behind the mill already. So it's going to be a tremendous year angling on the exploits, but treat it as it is. It's a world-class river. It's like no other in North America. So pack it in, pack it out, and keep it clean. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Noel. Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items. Like we're talking about, we're ramping up pretty busy, and we've been really busy since our last public meeting. Special Olympics had their year-end and law enforcement torch run on June the 4th, which was very well attended by all the Special Olympians, and they raised over $13,000, which will stay in the Grand Falls-Windsor area for our Special Olympians. Great job by one and all, and we thank them for that. Also, the junior firefighters had their year end. You and I attended that. That was just a great thing, and all these young people who do the training the same as regular firefighters. I mean, it's got to be daunting when you're looking at that 100-foot aerial ladder and you're going to go up it, right? But every one of them, I mean, they've done a great job, and it shows that the thing about being afraid is not the thing. Overcome the fear. And this is what they're doing. So, they'll take this throughout their life that, hey, it might be daunting, but we can overcome this, right? So congratulations to all of them, and also to all the firefighters, the instructors, that helped all these students with their training. Great job, one and all. Also, Saturday past was Lionel Kellen Hospice Walk, and I was there at that, and that was, of course, well attended as well. So it was a great turnout for that. Also, Mr. Mayor, if I may, June the 30th, next Sunday, our July 1st parade, we always called it, but it's the Sunday closest to July 1st. We'll form up at the Armories at 1:30. The parade will move off at 1:45 to the Cenotaph, and the services will start at 2 o'clock. So we'd love to see a great turnout for that, and hopefully the weather is going to cooperate. And also to my colleague, congratulations on your retirement, and many happy days coming.
Thank you, Councillor Hiscock. Well, I had several things there, but as they went around the room, they got ticked off and not flicked off, but ticked off. And Councillor Hiscock nailed the last couple there. But I do have something else to talk about before I get into others. Is an important issue, of course, is the issue of our family care team here in Grand Falls-Windsor. We did release a statement yesterday in conjunction with our Health Coalition, myself and the chair of the committee, Cyril Farrell. It feels like Cyril and I have had a full-time job on healthcare for the past year or so. We had an information session at the theater a couple of months ago about the family care teams, really trying to help people understand what they were, how you became attached, how they worked. The family care team, in theory, is a really good idea. And it is, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, because it's more efficient. It allows patients to be moved around and less time with people they shouldn't really or don't need to be seeing, and less time on the physicians and the professionals there with patients that they really don't need to be seeing either, just to pass them on to someone else. The problem with the family care team is that it has not been fully staffed since it has opened. So the family care team here in Grand Falls, Windsor, opened in November, I believe, of 2023. You know, we're hearing about it and been talking about it for long before that, but we still do not have any family physicians or physicians on that family care team. And there are 2 positions allotted for physicians. And right now, we have 1 nurse practitioner and a group of other staff who I know are doing their very best to provide care and to get people connected to a primary care physician, but they're faced with an impossible task. When you don't have full complement of staff, particularly the physicians, they're also short on admin and other things as well, but the physicians being the, I guess, for lack of a better word, the most important, but the other staff are just as important, of course. But how can you get a family care team to solve our issues if you do not have physicians? So we know that we have in our community and close region 4,000 people who are registered with Patient Connect without a family doctor. Now, there was a time in this community that everybody had a family doctor and you could get an appointment in no time, and probably a lot of other communities as well, and we know that other communities are struggling. But for that many patients to not have a family doctor is alarming. And what's more alarming is that since the family care team has opened in November, is that out of those 4,000 people on Patient Connect, there's only about 10-15% of those names that have been connected to primary care. So you can do the math. For the remaining people on that list, it would be years at the current rate before you even get connected to primary care. So something has to happen, and we feel that if the family physician roles could be filled, it could onboard a couple of thousand patients in a very short period of time, which would be a big help. And by the way, those 4,000 people are just people who are on Patient Connect. It doesn't include all the people, and there are lots who are in this community that I know of who are not on Patient Connect. They either, don't know about it or just haven't gotten around to it or whatever. So the number's even bigger. And the problem, as we see it, and we've been talking to the local physicians, we've been talking to government, we met with the Minister of Health, we met with NL Health Services, Mr. Diamond. We've been in pretty much daily contact with them ever since, getting updates, and we keep getting told, well, hold off on a release or anything because we're getting close. But it's the same thing every week. So we did release that yesterday, and really that is just one step in what we will move to if we have to, because the family care team has spots for 2 physicians. But the problem is the government's model is not a one-size-fits-all. In different regions, there's different problems, and you need unique solutions. And Grand Falls, Windsor is no different. So what frustrates us most is that we know there are a group of physicians here in our community, many of whom have given up their practices in the last few years here, but chose to stay in Grand Falls, Windsor because they want to stay here and they want to live here and raise their kids here, and which is great. So we have these physicians in our community who are willing to help with the family care team, but they're not willing to apply for and take a full-time position with the family care team. Because one, the remuneration is not what they would get in other settings or doing multiple things such as Emerge, OBS, and that kind of thing. And also the lack of flexibility. These physicians want to be able to do shifts in Emerge. They want to be able to do OBS, as I mentioned. They want to be able to do clinic in the hospital. They want to do other things so they can give some time to the family care team, a day or 2 a week maybe, And collectively, we know of at least 8 physicians in the community that are willing to do this. Collectively, they could solve our problem, at least in the short term, and then a long-term solution needs to be had. But when you hear about touting the success of the family care teams and commercials and all that stuff, and we see, it's like a punch in the gut when I see that commercial or ad or whatever it is, because we're not having any success with our family care team, and we got a lot of patients without a family doctor, and they're getting underserved, undiagnosed, untreated, and what does that lead to? Obviously serious issues, not to mention the ripple effect on the system, the emergency room overflowing, the health hub overflowing. The cost is enormous. So we really urge government to get this done. When you talk about recruitment, it is crucially important. We get it, and we've been doing a lot ourselves to try to help support recruitment, as we talked about lots here. But why not use some of the incentive money on retention? It makes sense to me, like a doctor from somewhere else or a doctor here really is the same in my eyes. So we have these doctors here willing to help, and we're being told that we need to recruit doctors for the family care team. You can imagine how frustrating that is. So if we don't get a sufficient solution to this soon, we will be going to the next step, which will be public action and a protest or a demonstration or whatever you would want to call it. And we need our community more than ever before. If we have to do that, we need our community to be there, because it's not about us, not about council, not about the town. Technically, this is not even a town responsibility. This is provincial, which is another story I won't get into right now. But this is your health. Like, this is your children's health, this is your grandchildren's health, this is your future. So if we need a crowd, please come out and please help us. We don't want to have to do that. We don't think we should need to have to do that, but we're very close to pulling the trigger on doing that, because it seems like all else has failed, and we still have all these people without any access to primary care doctors right here in the community. So there's a lot more I could say on that and other healthcare issues as well, unfortunately, but I'll leave it at that right now. And if anybody wants any more information on that, they can let us know. The last thing I'll say is that Cyril Farrell, for people who know him, first of all, he's done enormous amount of work on the Healthcare Coalition and on behalf of the town. Enormous amount of work. And he's retired, of course, and supposedly, I tell him all the time, you're supposed to be retired. But Cyril Farrell is a guy who's very rational, very neutral, laid back, not going to get too excited over things and that. Cyril Farrell has said to the minister, I'm not the type of person to hold a placard, but this time I will. So for Cyril to say that speaks to how big the issue is. And the last thing I'll mention, because we met with the minister over a month ago now, and we really tried to impress upon him the importance of this issue and why they need to change it. So I asked a lot of questions and made a lot of interruptions and everything else at the time to get our point across, but we committed to sending them a list of questions that we want answers to, because we said, if we are going to be going out and talking to the media and that, we want to make sure we got the facts. And they said, okay, send in your questions. And I said, you'll have them, in a matter of days. So we sent in a list of questions. At that meeting with the minister, we were promised that the turnaround on the answers to those questions will be fairly quick. Well, guess what? We got no answer, no response, and we're over a month out from that meeting. So, the people of Grand Falls, Windsor, and area should be downright insulted by the treatment we're getting. It's not fair. It isn't. And we need to make sure that we stand up for what's right and we get the access to primary care that people deserve. The only other things I'll mention, most everything was mentioned, as I said. The Deputy Mayor and I did walk in the Special Olympics torch run. He managed to keep up with me. The youth firefighters is something that's been going on for, I thought they said 30 years or something now. And Captain Bob Down, who's passed now, unfortunately, it was his idea to get this youth firefighter program on the go all them years ago. And if he could see it now, because as Councillor Hiscock said, it's a wonderful, wonderful program. The kids who get in it typically are around a grade 11 level. And most of them, at least in years past, because they've learned since about the program, they get in it to get their community hours. Haha, easy way to get community hours, we'll get into youth firefighters. But getting up on the 100-foot ladder and putting on all the bunker gear and going into smoking houses down on New Bay Road and all the other things they do, such a great experience for them. So not only did they get their community hours, but they learned a lot. And Nathan Sullivan led that program this year, and Nathan is an employee of the town of Grand Falls, Windsor, and a very dedicated volunteer. And him and the others from the fire department give up of their time freely. They're already members of the fire department, so you can imagine the commitment. But they also give up this one night a week to train these young people in this program. And I can't list them because there's a dozen or so. And also some students who had take part in the program before come back to be peer instructors, which is great as well. But Nathan, I know him from volunteering for basketball as well, which he does a lot of, and other things. So hats off to him for volunteering and the great job he does with that program. Jay's Care Foundation had an event down on the ball field there a couple of weeks ago. Particularly Daniel Ledrew Hewlin had an event down there because she applied for a grant on her own to the Jay's Care Foundation as a teacher to allow kids to come in and experience baseball who may not normally get the opportunity to do so. And we had kids here from Twillingate, and we had kids here from Badger, and we had kids here from Fogo that came in for a day of baseball and activities, and it was a great time. And thanks to the Jay's Cares Foundation for providing the grant, and thanks to Danielle, because not unlike Nathan, you can find Danielle's name attached to a lot of volunteer activities in the community over the years as well. Lastly, the retirement of our buddy. I know it's already been spoken of, so I won't get into it too much. But I do need to say, right, because I've been familiar with Mr. Knoll for years and years, and known you all my life, not closely or anything, but we've known each other, so I know you're a cool dude. I know that. But, one thing that Mr. Knoll has been able to do that almost all other teachers fail at is that he somehow has all his students like him.
Give them all A's.
But there's something to be said for that. And I know Mr. Knoll does get close with the students, and he'll help them out if they're in a bind, and he'll talk to them on their level, and he'll give them good life lessons, and he'll show compassion, and he'll show, understanding. And, I know that to be true, and he's not the type to talk about that kind of stuff because he's also very laid back and wouldn't say a whole lot about himself. But I know that to be true, and I know he made a difference in a lot of young people's lives at that school. So congratulations on your retirement, sir. And I know what a worker you are, so I'm sure you're not going to be without things to do. But very well deserved career, and you did a fantastic job. and I wanted to point that out there tonight in addition to my colleagues' comments. With that, I will call for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Little. All those in favor? Aye. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the nice weather.